Hi guys, the NBA Finals are finally here. I am so excited. I've been waiting to see this matchup all season long, which we all could pretty much predict that it would be these two teams to match up again for a third straight year. So I want to talk a little bit about the matchup, some of the key things that I think will be important for both teams, and also I'm going to give you my finals prediction. So let's talk about the matchup. Obviously, the Cavs haven't changed that much. They're pretty much the same team. But the Warriors, however, we all know they went out and got KD as a free agent over the off season. So when you look at the matchup, I just think it's funny that people say Kevin Durant is replacing Harrison Barnes. Really? I love HB, but KD and HB are like two totally different levels of talent, totally different players. So I mean, they have one thing in common: not showing up in the playoffs last year. KD choked, as well in the Western Conference Finals in that fourth quarter game against the Warriors. Harrison Barnes was just back in Iowa somewhere. I mean, who knows? He just was like a ghost. So when you look at the matchup, obviously LeBron isn't going to be guarding HB, and HB isn't going to be guarding LeBron. KD is a totally different player, has a totally different skill set. He has length and he has athleticism. It's going to be a different matchup for Bronny. So with that being said, some of the things that I think important in this series are, for the Warriors, I believe in divine order. So looking back in the 14-15 season when the Warriors won the championship, they finished with a record of 67-15. So fast forwarding to this season, the Warriors regular season record 67-15. We can just all go home, right? Okay. But no, I think that that's important because, like I said, I believe in divine order. I believe that things are lining up and stacking up for the Warriors. And I'll tell you a few more reasons why I think that these are interesting facts. Coaching. For the Dubs, we know that Coach Kerr has been injured. We all, want to see Coach Kerr back on the sidelines, but we want him to be healthy. And in his interim, Mike Brown has been coaching the Warriors ever since the first round. So Mike Brown has been doing, a decent job. He's obviously not Coach Kerr, but the team isn't suffering, as a result of that. They pretty much coach themselves. So I'm not saying that coaching isn't important. It will be, especially in this series, but it's nothing to panic about. The reason I bring up Mike Brown is because we know that the Cavs have fired him as head coach, twice in 4 years. I think that that's interesting just because we know it's got to be a little part in Coach Brown that just wants to really stick it to the Cavs and their organization. So I think that, that little bit of information definitely helps the Warriors in this matchup because it also helps, them all to push. And knowing the team that they are, I would say that they want to stick it to them for their own reasons, but they also want to help, Coach Brown kind of like, Millie rock on them a bit. Get a little crip walk on the court or something in Cleveland. Who knows? But, so let's talk about the players themselves. I want to talk about who I think the X factor is for both teams. For the Cavs, I think that the X factor is going to be Kevin Love. The reason I say that is because he was pretty awful last season, and we know that he's, developed his relationship with his teammates. He's kind of settled in his, own self, and he has settled with the team, his teammates, and he kind of knows his role, and he's been able to kind of get his offense going for the regular season. So it will be important, I think, to see if that will carry over into the playoffs. You know, what will we see from Kevin Love? I think he averaged like 8 points or just something awful in last year's playoffs, and it didn't. Well, the series against the Warriors, it didn't matter, obviously, because the Dubs did lose, you know, and the Cavs won. But I think this series, if Cleveland is going to have a puncher's chance at beating the Warriors, Kevin Love cannot, you know, have that bad of a series. They're going to need him. They're going to need him to score. The player that I think is key to watch for the for the Cavs is Tristan Thompson. It'll be interesting to see who they put him up against, you know, who he's guarding, what he'll be able to do against the Warriors, because he's decent. He's not a scrub, but he's slow and he's not as athletic as, what he will be matched up against. And I think for Cleveland, he's going to be a player to watch because they're going to need all their ducks in a row to have, like I said, a puncher's chance at beating the Warriors. Another key factor involving Tristan Thompson is the Kardashian curse. Now, I love me some Coco. I love Khloe Kardashian. But, there were all these rumors going around that LeBron wasn't happy with Tristan dating Khloe or dating a Kardashian, and whatever may have you. Will he lose focus? I guess we're gonna see. We're definitely gonna see how that plays out, and if him dating Khloe hurts or helps their chances. So for the Warriors, I think the X factor is Killer Klay. We all know that Klay Thompson has struggled. He's definitely struggled in these playoffs. But for the Dubs, Klay has turned into kind of like that trump card that you keep in your back pocket, and you just, stack your books and then you hit them where it hurts. I think that Klay is, going to show up. The Dubs are definitely going to need him to show up, but he's too talented and too great of a shooter to have so many off games consecutively. I just remember, that one game where he scored, 61 points. I feel like we're going to see that version of Klay show up in these playoffs, these finals, and I think it's really going to be needed for his team. They do need him to step up, and they are going to need his offensive contribution. He hasn't slacked off on defense, and defense is definitely important. Defense wins games. He's definitely a strong defender and one of the Dubs' stronger defenders, but I think they're going to need a little offense from him too, and I think we're going to get it. He's going to show up. He's due to just go off. So Klay is the X factor for the Warriors, and then the player to watch for the Dubs, I think, is JaVale McGee. You can have your own opinion. He's goofy, he's this, he's that, but in fact, he's actually been a very important player on the team, and I think that especially, around the rim protection, he is able to offer, due to his length, his size, and his athleticism, he's able to offer, obviously what Zaza Pachulia can't, but more importantly, what the Dubs may have lost in Andrew Bogut. I think that, LeBron's not going to just be able to just charge to the basket and have his way, all the time. He's certainly going to get his, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult, I feel, with the Warriors having JaVale and, them not having Bogut in the finals last year. So we've covered Mike Brown. Want to just stick it to him. I think he's going to be able to. We've covered the X factor for both team and also the player to watch. And like I said, I believe in divine order. It's very interesting that when the Warriors did win the championship, they had the exact same regular season record. We all know all the flack they got about, the regular season record last year, chasing 73. They didn't close it. you know, we all heard it. So I think that that's really going to work in their favor. And then also the Mike Brown effect. Mike Brown is about to get his. He's about to hit him where it hurts. And the fact that they fired him twice in 4 years and they're still cutting him a check is about to go down. Trust me when I tell you it's going down. The Cavs are definitely going to need to step up their defense. They can at sometimes be a defensive liability. I don't see LeBron taking plays off on defense. He's the king. So I mean, I'm not taking anything away from LeBron. I know who LeBron is, and he's going to show the Warriors who he is too. He's going to get his. Uncle Drew's going to get his. But I think for the Cavs, it's the rest of their supporting cast. They're going to need Shumpert. They're going to need Swish. They're going to need Kevin Love. They're gonna need all their ducks in a row. And I've stated that before. Everybody has got to step up for them to, you know, try to pull this off. And nobody can take plays off defensively. Kevin Love can also be a little bit of a defensive liability as well. And the Warriors are a very great defensive team. And although people criticize Steph for not being that good of a defender, he's actually a lot better of a defender than people want to give him credit for. So he's not a scrub defensively. So basically I've kind of covered everything that I wanted to cover just leading up to tip off. And I said that I was going to give you all my finals prediction. I'm predicting the Warriors to win in 6 games. I'm going on the strength of the same year they won the championship. They had 67 and 15. And they also won in 6. And they won at Cleveland in game 6. I feel like it's going to play itself out the exact same way. Either way, if I'm wrong about the amount of games, the Warriors will still be holding up the trophy at the end of this series. So I hope you guys enjoyed my first kind of kicking it with Ange sports talk video, and I'm going to try to do one after each game. So happy finals. Hope you enjoy your time watching it. I'm gonna be lit and it's gonna be fun. So go Dubs.